Khadijah, Fatimah, Ayeshah. These three women are the matriarchs of Islam. Through each of them, Muslim women and men alike stand to learn humility, compassion, strength, and piousness. They influenced the Prophet Muhammad, serving as an example for generations of believers to come. As for their legacy, much of it has been lost. Nowadays, members of other religions are quick to judge Islam for its lack of inclusivity. In contrast, much of its roots are founded upon the backs of strong, well-deserving women such as those mentioned previously. Wives and daughters played important roles in the lives of early believers, supporting men such as the Prophet, who would go on to relay the will of God to common people. In this documentary, we explore the importance of these women, tearing down misconceptions of the role of females in early Islamic society.
Businesswoman, believer, wife, and leader. These are some of the many roles Khadijah played throughout her life. Khadijah was the wife of Prophet Muhammad and a crucial figure in the establishment and spread of Islam. Her father was a popular businessman and leader within the community, and she grew up in a life of luxury. Khadijah was a successful businesswoman who hired Prophet Muhammad to work for her, and once impressed by his business acumen and work ethic, she offered to marry him. She was 15 years his senior at the time, and when she proposed their marriage, she was 40 years old, whereas Prophet Muhammad was 25. Prior to their marriage, she had been married twice and had children from her prior marriages. Her first husband widowed her, and it is reported that she divorced her second husband, a revolutionary act for the time. Not only was she a trailblazer socially, but her financial independence had freed the Prophet from needing to earn a living, and enabled him to lead the life of contemplation that was to prelude his becoming the Prophet. The Prophet also reportedly felt insecure without Khadijah. Khadijah is credited with being the first true believer of Islam because she convinced the Prophet that he was truly receiving a revelation. This is sometimes overlooked when considering Islam's origins and reinforces her profound impact on the religion. She was also a significant contributor to Islam in her assistance in teaching and spreading Islam's monotheistic teachings. Her financial contributions allowed for the spread of Islam, and she is said to be one of the first 3 people to pray in the Muslim way. She serves as the role model for modern Muslim women through her leadership and independence as exemplified through her relationship with Prophet Muhammad.
So, of course you've heard of Fatimah, Khadijah, and Ayeshah, right?
Yes. To any Muslim, they would know her immediately. She's the first wife of the Prophet. She was a very rich, strong, powerful woman. She was 40 years old when she married the Prophet, I think, and he was 25 years old. And she is Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, which means that she's the best, greatest woman of all time. When I think of her, I think about greatness and compassion. She was, like I said,
legitimate heir of Islam. The daughter of the Prophet's legacy was strong and can be closely associated with Muslim traditions in place today throughout the world.
Mother of the believers and a scholar among the best of the companions, Ayeshah was unique in every aspect. Born in 614 CE, her father was Abu Bakr, the most beloved companion of the Messenger and first caliph. She's described as Muhammad's youngest and most favored wife after his first, and several hadiths or stories speak of this where Muhammad was asked the question, "Who is the person you love most in this world?" It is then written that he responded with, Ayeshah. Muhammad valued her keen memory and intelligence, and so instructed his companions to draw some of their religious practices from her. After his death, where Muhammad famously drew his last breath, cradled in her arms, Ayeshah continued her promotion of Islam and served the Muslim community for 44 years until her death in 678 AD. She was widely known for her great intellect and knowledge, narrating over 2,000 hadiths, not just on matters related to Muhammad's private life, but also on topics such as inheritance, pilgrimage, and eschatology. Today, Ayeshah is seen as a role model to women. Her days were spent in charity and fast, living modestly while spreading knowledge at every turn. Pious, generous, and incredibly intelligent, Ayeshah stands as a supporting figure for the development of Islam.
Some of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum come to her and ask her some questions about Islam and about her fatwa about from what she's seen from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
We'll admit there are some people who just absolutely shut out the women, which has led to current policies, because I think it just stems back to how these leaders were brought up, and they just didn't really think about women. Which my Sunday school really focused more on the core fundamentals of the religion, and I would usually just ask my mom on the way back questions about different women, maybe my mom's friends and where they got their names from and stuff like that. But I feel like a lot of these qualities aren't restricted to just our religion. There's other women who are doing very important things.
Khadijah, Fatimah, and Ayeshah. Through their trailblazing, each of these women found a way to make a name for themselves in a new religion that initially struggled to gain a following. Their influence on Allah's messenger and the final prophet allowed them to shape the religion, and given their significance, the mere recognition of these women's contributions should quell naysayers who claim that Islam is a religion that is unfavorable to women. As early Islam upheld the spirit of inclusivity, the adoption of cultural practices supposedly justified by hadiths throughout the modern Muslim world has prompted the questioning of how favorable Islam is towards women. Through this documentary, it should be evident that these women had a lasting impact on the Muslim world. Khadijah, Fatimah, and Ayeshah all serve as examples for members of any faith and should be remembered for their leadership, piety, and courageousness.